virus outbreak in China.
This coronavirus.
Deadly coronavirus.
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 The coronavirus outbreak has been declared a pandemic.
On March 11, 2020, the World Health Organization declared the outbreak of COVID-19 as a pandemic. Started as an outbreak in Wuhan, China in December 2019. The virus was believed to be transmitted from the wild animals present in the Huanan seafood market. This new coronavirus has quickly spread around the world just within a few months, resulted in more than 5 million confirmed cases and 347,400 deaths as of May 26, 2020. There is currently no vaccine for COVID-19. The only way to protect oneself from the virus is through preventative measures. Besides keeping respiratory hygiene, washing hands frequently and properly, and avoiding touching faces. The WHO strongly advised the public to practice social distancing to contain the spread of COVID-19. The goal of these strategies is to slow down the spread of the infection and to reduce the intensity of the epidemic, hence the term flatten the curve. In response to the pandemic, several countries imposed travel restrictions. Some countries and cities even announced a complete lockdown to contain the spread of the virus. For example, Italy, Spain, France, and India, just to name a few. Meanwhile, in Sweden, the Swedish government is taking a different and rather controversial approach.
You talk about Sweden, but Sweden is suffering very gravely. You know that, right? Sweden did that. The herd, they call it the herd. Sweden is suffering very, very badly.
Okay, Trump didn't get it quite right, but close. We bet you all know. He tried to say herd immunity. This approach has raised a lot of questions and debates internationally over its effectiveness or the lack thereof. Even Swedish scientists and experts voiced their concern and signed an open letter to the government calling for stricter measures.
I'm a scientist. I don't trust authorities. I trust data, and I don't see transparency of data that makes me calm to say that the strategy chosen is the best way forward.
But they might be right.
They might be right, and I will open a champagne bottle then. Because this is not about me and who's right or wrong. I think that we should have an open discussion about the scientific data.
The Swedish government chose to follow the advice of their national epidemiologist Anders Tegnell for an anti-lockdown strategy.
And being outside, like we are doing right now, without being too close to each other, is obviously not the way that this virus is spread. It's spread when you're inside, when you're close together with people. So those kind of pictures doesn't worry me as much as many other things I see. This long-term thing on the low scale that we do in Sweden is much more sustainable and would not cause these enormous differences in the amount of cases getting into healthcare in the same way. So I think both Norway and Denmark are now very concerned about how do you stop these complete lockdowns in a way so you don't cause this wave to come immediately when you start loosening up.
People are suggested to follow the guidelines and recommendations provided by the Swedish Public Health Agency that are in line with the WHO's advice concerning general hygiene and social distance. People are also advised to voluntarily stay at home if they feel sick, but no rules are enforced on an individual. Certain regulations are imposed, such as the banning of public gatherings or events of over 50 people, and the new legislation requiring restaurants, bars, and cafes to take precautions to maintain social distance between their customers and to prevent crowding as well as the spreading of the virus. So far, Stockholm has been the hotspot for the spread of COVID-19 in Sweden. But a number of cases, almost 300, are also reported in Malmö. Malmö is Sweden's third biggest city with a population of over 340,000 inhabitants. located in the south of Sweden in the province of Scania. The city is well connected to many big cities in Scandinavia and Central Europe. It is one bridge away from Copenhagen, Denmark. Sentiments towards coronavirus were significantly visible in Malmö after Denmark announced its lockdown on March 13, making traveling between Copenhagen and Malmö much more difficult for those who live in one city and work or study in the other city. That was when we started to notice small and big changes that the pandemic has brought into the everyday life of our own and of the people that we know. And since the Swedish strategy against coronavirus is so unique, we also saw that our new normal everyday life differed greatly to those in other countries where stricter measures were imposed. That fueled our decision to conduct this documentary to showcase the fabric of everyday life that is reflected in the urban setting of Malmö during this Covid-19 pandemic under the hotly debated Swedish strategy. So, how does the pandemic affect the urban space and everyday life in Malmö? In order to answer this question, we started looking into the activities and public behavior that take place in popular public places in the city, both outdoors and indoors. Areas observed include Malmö city center, the southern inner city of Malmö, Western Harbor, Ribersborg, and the parks including Slottparken, Kungsparken, Pildammsparken, Folkets Park, and Råsjöparken. These areas have been observed several times a week from March 31st to May 10th during daytime between 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Information and visual materials were gathered through daily observations, keeping diaries, and taking pictures and videos. We also made interviews and covert observations with the people living here to get a picture of the unobserved mood in the city. While the outbreak was happening, warm weather was approaching closer in Sweden after a long, dark winter. The good weather poses as a challenge to keep people at home, since Swedes have been waiting for a long time for the sun to be able to do outdoor activities. And in Malmö, the cherry blossom bloom, the sun is shining, and the people here are loving it. As we observed, people seem to carry out many of their outdoor activities as usual. Various fitness and sport activities, for example walking, running, canoeing, and group exercising, had been spotted in different public spaces around the city. In Western Harbor, many people were seen enjoying a walk along the pathway next to the ocean, or simply sunbathing on the sun deck. Many young people and kids skating in Stappenbergsparken nearby, while the adults gather on the adjacent benches waiting for their kids. Children filled the playgrounds with their parents around, keeping an eye on them, while other people were having a walk on the pathway. In the parks, many groups of friends were seen either playing some game or having a picnic. Outdoor benches were well used during this time of year. Somewhere in Kungsparken, a bunch of people gathered around to play ball. Not much of a distance was kept when people were so into the game. During the weekends, Ribersborg Beach seemed to be a popular place for families and friends to hang out at. Most people were seen in groups, scattered here and there around the beach. Not too far away, a group of young people were playing volleyball. Many came here to have a picnic, play outdoor games, or to do barbecue while enjoying the sun. Some groups seemed quite mindful of the distance between each other, or perhaps they just appreciated the privacy. In the city center, we found people walking along the pedestrian street. It was particularly crowded around shopping stores and Gustav Adolf Square. Around different areas in the city, people were seen sunbathing. Besides the beach, popular sunny spots include the sun decks by the canal and various green spaces around the city. Throughout the weeks, we saw many people sitting at outdoor sittings in different pubs and restaurants, of which the most popular places are in Lilletorg and Möllan. Restaurants and pubs have taken action to make their outdoor sittings less crowded. Lines between tables and around the cashier were visible to remind the customers of social distancing. In most places, outdoor sittings were not as full as what they have capacity for, except during some days when the sun lingers for a long time. Some restaurants were packed with people when we were there. The Malmö market has been busy most of the days. However, metal bars were set up to separate the people queuing to buy fruits and vegetables. Signs from the city of Malmö were put up in the square and flyers were attached in front of every market stand, reminding people to keep social distance and to take care of each other. Early on, we observed that supermarkets had put up signs and marking on the floor, directing customers on where to stand while being in line. More protective measures are also noted, such as limiting the total number of customers in the store, providing alcohol gel hand wash at the entrance, or reminding the customers to use food tongs to pick up bread and pastry. Protective glass at cashier stations have also been put up in several supermarkets, restaurants, and commercial stores. People were seen to practice social distancing quite strictly in the supermarkets, thanks to the markings, yet seemed to forget about social distance while being in line for ice cream, alcohol, and seafood. Reactions from the society towards the new virus can even be seen in some street art we found in the city. Evidently, the virus and frustrations from the ongoing pandemic have become a source of inspiration for some artists. Another sign of life being under the influence of the pandemic can be seen on this poster wall. This wall is emptied every Monday to make space for new posters about upcoming events in the week. It looked empty when we visited on a Thursday during April. In the beginning of April, only a few people were spotted wearing masks. As time passed, more people were observed with masks, however the number is minority compared to those who don't. Everyday life in Malmö might look normal and worry-free in some parts of the city, yet underneath, many people are concerned about the situation. The people that we interviewed share with us some of their worries and insights into how their everyday lives were affected by the pandemic. Undeniably, COVID-19 has brought significant changes into the everyday life of the people in Malmö. The signs and messages telling people to keep social distance and to take care of each other have become an indispensable part of the new normal of the city life. Due to good weather and the unique Swedish strategy, on the surface, life in open public spaces to somewhat extent seems normal, as if there were no pandemic. Many people could still go out and do outdoor activities as they would in the previous spring and summer. However, underneath that happy and carefree facade, worries, sadness, and concerns about the new normal still exist in people's mind. The new situation affects the life of people in Malmö very individually, each in a different way and at a different level. It is uncertain when life will get back to normal again. All we know for now is that Malmö residents, like many others in other parts of the world, are trying their best to adapt to this unprecedented time of their life.